Emma, we were just talking earlier that your partner Craig just joined your business recently. How's that going?
Yeah, he did. So, yeah, it's been really good. So it's been nice for him to be able to leave the corporate world behind and get out there and, help purchase properties. And he's got the IT background. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to have him in the background doing all the automations and systems. And, so that's where his happy place is. So, yeah, it's been really good.
I love that. And you also came from an IT background.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're both IT nerds. So him more so than me. But, I think that's a good background actually to come into being a buyer's agent. So you've got that sort of analytical mind and, it helps having if you run a business, I think if you've got a bit of an IT background as well.
When did you first hear about becoming a buyer's agent?
So Craig and I were about to move to Singapore and we had a going away party with some friends and Jane, our friend, was just about to start as a buyer's agent. So I hadn't heard of it. This was back in 2017. And Craig was like, "Oh my God, Emma, that's your perfect job." And I thought, yeah, that's an amazing job. That's awesome. And I was so happy that Jane was going down that path. So yeah, kept in touch with her and saw that she was going really well. And it planted a seed, which eventually I came around to. So it was a little while later than that though.
I love that. And you mentioned Craig said that was your perfect job. Why did he say that?
Oh, well, we've just always been into property. So I wanted to leave school at the age of 15 to save up for my first house. So just having that property passion and being able to help, it's basically what we've been doing, helping other people, family and friends to purchase property. So then to think that was actually a job was really, really a bit of an eye-opener. So it was kind of like, it was actually, the perfect job when I think about, what we've done over the years and yeah.
Was it daunting, like getting started? Because I mean, you came from like a corporate background as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was super scary. So yeah, and I see the people that are starting out now and I see how scared they are. And yeah, I mean, I guess anyone jumping into their own business is going to be super scared and a bit apprehensive about, what's involved. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot involved. It's not just, I'll go out and buy properties. So, yeah, you've got to do a website and maybe some business cards and even coming up with a name. So, yeah, all of those was, quite daunting.
Finding clients.
Yeah, and then you've got to find clients. Otherwise, you've got no business. So
let me ask you this question. So, you came from an IT background, which I'm assuming you're in a technical role.
Yeah.
We're becoming a buyer's agent. You're in a sales role, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How was it for you getting started in order to find clients?
Well, I had no clue I was stepping into a sales role. I was so clueless at the very beginning because I thought, well, I was buying for my clients. So I'm buying, not selling, but actually you have to sell yourself. So you're not going to get a client to come on board with you until you're able to sell the services that you offer. So yeah, that was actually a bit of an eye-opener for me. I guess that probably is for everyone that starts out on their own business. It's something that I've had to work on and build my skills with. So yeah, I mean, the Buyer's Agent Institute has been super helpful with giving, tips and strategies and support along the way for all of that. So that's been super helpful.
Do you recall your first client meeting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I was sitting in a cafe in Currumbin and this single father had just separated and he just needed to get out and find, somewhere to live for him and his boys. So it was just super exciting to think that I could help him. And then, we just got such an amazing result for him and his boys. And it was just the whole experience just made me realise how much value a buyer's agent can give to someone like that. So, I mean, he had emotionally fallen in love with the property. So without someone being there beside him, taking that emotion out and negotiating, he would have paid like over $100,000 more for that property, and he was willing to do that. So,
wow.
he was super excited to have a great result. So yeah.
And I guess, I'm assuming that would have boosted your confidence, right? Your first meeting, with a, potential new client and they sign up.
Yeah.
How did that impact you?
Oh, it was amazing. I thought, wow, this really could be a business. This could really be something that I could, because, I've always been a bit of a planner, so having a backup plan. So, it was nice to think that, this is something that we could move forward and create a business and helping people to purchase properties. So, it was exciting.
Like retrospectively looking back, right, with, your previous career, with what you were doing, could you ever go back to, I'm assuming, like an office job?
No. Sometimes I dream of it when it's like, because a business is not 9 to 5. So, and then actually, to be honest, working in IT wasn't 9 to 5 either. But sometimes I do dream of it when you get those weeks where you've got, multiple clients, multiple properties, multiple agents, and there's a lot going on. Then I wouldn't change that for the world. So, just that feeling of actually being able to help people with something that you've created is really valuable.
It's special, hey?
Yeah, it is. It's super special. So,
how long have you been now running your business?
Coming up 2 years.
How's it feeling now? Like, so you're 2 years in. Is the business? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's something that we can see that we can just enjoy moving forward. And we haven't had massive rapid growth. We've had nice, steady, sustainable growth. So it's just been nice to just to be able to work on our terms and create a future that's we've got that flexibility. We live not far from the beach, so we can duck out at lunchtime, have a swim, come back and, continue working. It's really good.
The way that I look at it, right, like it seems like it's already a win for you. You've left your corporate career. You're doing something that you love. Craig, your partner, he's left his corporate career. He's joined you now. So, you both are working together, I guess, in an industry that you guys are very passionate about. Like, that to me is just a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Craig was super excited to be leaving the corporate career behind. Because, you do flog your guts out when you're working for someone else in that, capacity. So, he was, an executive and working long hours and, but you're working for someone else. You're not that effort that you put in. Yes, you get, rewarded monetarily, but it's not something that is yours, that you're created, that you're working towards. So it's so much more gratifying when you're working towards something that you've created. So
definitely. Why do you feel like? Let me reframe that. If you look back at over the last 2 years, all the clients that have come through your door, even all the meetings that you've had with potential clients who maybe for whatever reason didn't engage with you. What are the key reasons why these people need help? Like, is there like a specific set of reasons that you see continuously as a pattern as to why these people are looking for help?
I think there's been several different reasons. So some of them, the Gold Coast is so varied that there's all different, like depending on your lifestyle would depend on where you want to be located. So particularly for those that are moving to the area, they just really need guidance on what area will suit them and their lifestyle.
Okay.
But then a lot of the local people, they just keep missing out. So they might be working long hours, they might be working Saturdays, they might have kids, sports. There's just so much going on in people's lives that by the time they get around to seeing a property, they're being told, oh, sorry, it's under contract. And they're like, oh, missed out again.
Yeah.
And this can go on for months. So, and particularly at a time lately where the prices have been rising, that delay in months of purchase price means that ultimately they end up paying more for what they want, or they get less for their money. So,
makes sense.
So a lot of people, it's just that missing out, not being able to secure it.
Yeah, and that like leads into, real estate agents, right? Like the importance of the relationship that a buyer's agent has with a real estate agent, right? And I guess I wanted to check in with you about, do you feel like you're at a place now with where you're operating, where you've got a very strong foundation of relationship with the real estate agents?
Yeah, definitely. So, and you also get to understand how different agents operate, and yeah, so I can, contact a real estate agent that I know will have, stock that could suit my client. So you get to really narrow down their area of expertise, and you can be very strategic with the agents that you're targeting. So, and they're very receptive to buyer's agents because they know that, when they're dealing with a buyer's agent, they know that, the client that agent brings to them is qualified, they are ready to purchase, and that you've already done, a lot of the due diligence on that property. So it's more likely to be like a successful outcome for everyone. So, otherwise they could be dealing with people that, just don't have their finance in order, or so they actually are quite receptive to dealing with buyers agents, which is good. It makes it helpful for us.
Is there a specific situation that comes to mind regarding you buying for a client where your relationship with the real estate agent was like instrumental to that deal happening? Like, for example, like it could have been a client wanting a specific building, or an off market that you're able to bring to the table, like, and based on your relationship with that real estate agent, you were able to get a really successful outcome. Like, does anything come to mind?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a tricky one actually. So, I had a great relationship with a lot of the real estate agents, and one of them actually asked me, "Look, if you see something that comes up and fits this brief, let me know." So anyway, I did actually know an agent that had a listing that I thought would suit. So it was just kind of navigating that. We ended up purchasing an off-market property for the agent, and off-markets are very, like agents want to hold them very close to their chest, and they don't necessarily want to pass on the details of that to another real estate agent.
Yeah.
So that was quite tricky to navigate. But I think that it was just the trust that real estate agent had in me to know that, I'm going to look after him and get the best outcome for both. So, yeah.
What's your view on off markets? Because it's a big buzzword.
It is a big buzzword.
Everyone likes to talk about off markets, but I mean, I'm looking to buy something at the moment that's off market for myself, and it's way overpriced, just because, the vendor is not entirely motivated. And so I guess there's complications with sometimes looking at off market properties. Like, what's been your perspective, with kind of getting introduced to that off market world?
I feel like a lot of the off markets that we come across are, they're not great properties to begin with, and that's the reason they're off market. So the real estate agents don't want them to be on their advertising material because they're not in great quality. So, and they know that once buyers come through, they're going to pick them to pieces. So a lot of them, unless you're looking for a renovator's delight, then that's a good option for an off market. But some of the off markets, they're just people that are saying, oh yeah, if you can get me some crazy price for it, then I'll sell it. But I mean, there's no point buying a house at a crazy price just because it's off market. There's no point in that. So, I do say to people that I don't actually transact a lot in off markets. Like, we have purchased some great properties off market, but a lot of them are just getting at the front door when the properties come on the market or just before they're about to be released to the market. So, get in there when the photographer's getting in or that sort of thing. So, you can, I don't feel like an off market is actually, a great thing to engage a buyer's agent purely for. So, I
was having a conversation, I think like yesterday or the day before, with someone just about when I was a Cohen handler initially in the first 3-4 years, all the potential clients would come in the first meeting and they'd say, we want off market. Like, that's what they thought the value proposition that we could provide was off market. And then it took me a while to work it out. Maybe after maybe the fifth year, I was like, their problem is that they can't buy what's on the market.
Yeah.
And so they want an alternative solution, which is off the market. But I really believe as a buyer's agent, a lot of our value is what's on the market.
Absolutely.
Because if a really good property is listed now, the question is like, what is that buyer going to do differently to execute to get that deal done?
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, we're talking to the agents all the time. So we know what's coming up in their pipeline. So we've already got that jump ahead of, everyone else that's looking at their properties through realestate.com and domain.com. So yeah, it makes no sense to just be engaging a buyer's agent purely for off markets.
Yeah. Well, how would you, I mean, we haven't talked about it, but you obviously have a very deep background with, buying and selling property. I mean, from what I understand, you bought your first property at the age of 20.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you've been buying and flipping.
Yeah, we've been buying and selling, holding and yeah.
And so I guess with someone looking to engage your services, right? Like, to me, you hold a pretty strong, you've got a competitive advantage, I feel like. You've got a lot of runs on the board that span over a long period of time that you've done for yourself. Do you find that's really valuable when you are sitting in front of people, like for them to be privy to understand, your background of what you've done?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, they just don't buy and sell property very often. So it's even, little gotchas that they wouldn't think of along the way. So, it could be something simple like, getting approval for 2 dogs in the unit complex, and the real estate agent will say to them, oh yeah, the complex is pet friendly. But actually, without seeing the bylaws and without seeing, what's involved, is it pet friendly for 2 dogs or does it specify just the 1 dog? So there's all these little gotchas that people wouldn't even think of unless they, are privy to the ins and outs of purchasing property quite regularly. So yeah, and particularly the Gold Coast, there's so many gotchas with flood zones. So sometimes people will purchase a property and then get a quote for the insurance and then be like, oh my God, what's happened here? And it's like, and the insurance company is the one that is telling them, oh, your property's in a flood zone.
What's really interesting, when rates started to climb, right? I think it was like 2022.
Yeah.
Rates started to move. I think they went 8 times in that in 22, I think 5 in 23 from memory. I really thought some buyers agents were going to do it tough. I really thought it was going to be a challenging time, just obviously at a macro level, but just I thought the market would really slow, right? But especially like looking at Queensland as a market, people that I speak to operate in Brisbane, Gold Coast, like sunny, it's kind of like when rates were at like 2.5%.
Yeah, sometimes it felt a bit during COVID levels. So the demand at certain points, particularly for entry-level properties, has just been nuts. Yeah, I remember going through an open house at one point and there was like 30 pairs of shoes out the front and I was like, oh no, here we go. So yeah, and that was in the middle of all of those rate rises. So I think that there's a bit of FOMO, as in, people realised that they needed to get in and get their mortgage set before, future rate rises, because they could actually miss out on the property market. But yeah, I think also it's driven by a lot of people just moving to that southeast Queensland corner. So they can sell properties in Sydney and Melbourne at the time, create quite a lot of wealth from the sale of those properties, and then that translated into a nicer property in southeast Queensland. But that's been going on for like decades. That's been, we moved up in the 1970s, and people have been moving to the Gold Coast and southeast Queensland forever and a day. Like when you look at the migration stats for that, it's just always been really strong growth. So, and I don't see that stopping. I don't see that easing up anytime soon. There always seems to be a steady stream of people coming in and not enough houses being built. So it's just, then it just comes down to supply and demand.
But did that surprise you though? Like as rates were climbing up so much, like did you think, oh my God, like business might stop or business might stall? Were you ever worried at all?
Yeah, I did. I thought, oh, this is, we're going to be in for a bit of a wild ride here. And then, sort of like, okay, what's plan B? But what it created was, the opposite of what the media was telling us. So the media was saying, oh, there's a bubble and, this bubble needs to burst and the interest rates are going to do that. But yeah, it just didn't happen. So what it meant was people had more struggle trying to get property in that competitive market. So it actually created, a bit of a demand for buyers agents to get in there and just to give them a hand. So I remember there's a first home buyer couple that I helped out, and they had an interest rate, a pre-approval, and if they didn't buy something in that time period, they were out of the market. They were purchasing, at the lower end of the market, and there just wasn't going to be anything for them if they didn't secure something. So, and he worked on Saturdays. She had a toddler and a baby, and she was just struggling. So without a buyer's agent, I don't think they would have been able to get into the property market at all. So it was great to be able to help them out, because since then, I mean, their place has grown. Yeah, it's grown heaps. It's I don't know, it's probably close to $100,000 equity in their place now. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's scary to see how some buyers just go out there and just wing it, right? Like some of them have never bought property before, or maybe they have, and they're from Victoria and they're moving into the Gold Coast and they're buying, just in the wrong area. Like, it's just scary it's scary how normal it is. I mean, obviously I've been in this space for a while as well, and it's just scary to see how normal it is for people to make such a big investment decision and just think it's okay to just do it yourself. But you go to the accountant it's normal to go to the accountant to get, your numbers done, but it's not okay to engage someone to help you buy a home. It's a bit strange, hey?
Yeah, it is a bit strange. There's actually quite a few people now that have moved up during COVID. So of course in COVID times you couldn't visit Queensland. You had to buy a property sight unseen. So there's quite a few people now who have moved up, realised that they're not quite in the right spot, and then they're now moving within the Gold Coast to an area that suits them better. So if they had a buyer's agent to help them out at the time, they would have just been able to set them up immediately in that right location for them. So yeah, just it's an expensive purchase when you're buying a property, and the costs associated with purchasing a property are expensive. So yeah, you want to get it right.
Do you do much negotiation only or auction bidding only?
Yes, I've done a few of those. So I've just purchased a property for a client, a beautiful apartment in Surfers Paradise. So yeah, saved them tens of thousands of dollars, on what they were willing to pay for the property. So that's but also just simple things like negotiating to keep the plumbed in fridge for them and the bar fridge, and that was one where we've negotiated to include a contract to get approval for their 2 dogs, things like that they just wouldn't have considered and thought of. So yeah, they're super grateful.
What's your view, fast forward, projecting forward, just let's say the next 5 years? Do you think it's going to be quite normal for the average buyer to be using a buyer's agent? Where do you think it's going to be up to?
I think so. I think what's happening now is that a lot of people are realising that they're missing out on properties because they're up against buyer's agents. So I think that there'll be a realisation that if they need to get ahead of the market and they need to get that foot in the door as soon as the property is available for them to purchase, then yeah, they do need to engage a buyer's agent.
I think that's a really interesting perspective, and I tend to agree with that. I mean, I haven't thought of it like that, and I actually think that what you've just shared then is really fascinating, because I do think that it's going to get to a point where the competitive advantage is going to be to have a buyer's agent.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing that now. So I'm talking to clients that haven't yet signed up, but they're saying it's frustrating for them because they go to the first open house and they're told that it's already under contract. So, and I said, well, chances are it's probably been purchased by, someone pre-market, likely a buyer's agent. So that's what they're competing against.
Do you ever come across like a good sample of people who just think buyer's agents are too expensive?
Yeah, of course.
How do you respond to that?
Well, I guess people will, if they don't see value in a buyer's agent, they probably never will. But I think there's people that think that the cost is prohibitive and that it means that they'll be buying a property that is less value because they're engaging a buyer's agent. So the reality is that, there's no client that we haven't been able to negotiate more than the cost of the buyer's agent fee. But even simple things like just getting the deal across the line for them in the least amount of stress, and there's things that they save along the way that would save them time and save them mistakes. So
yeah. It's an interesting way to look at it because, in my early days in this career, I never used to always think that the value was only, and I used to tell like I'm not always going to save you money. Like I can't guarantee that. Like that's, I don't know. I just can't guarantee. But I guess like there's so many other value pieces that I think we as buyer's agents provide, which is like, identifying that property that they never would have found themselves.
Yeah.
And then that property might unlock in 2 years like a serious amount of manufactured equity. Or it could be a property that they're actually paying maybe market value, or it could even be like a very full price, but it's the perfect property for them that they're going to live in for the next 30 years. And so, or it could be that street. They wanted that street, that specific street, that's, specific location. And so I think there's just so many elements as to why buyer's agents are so important. And I think that it's interesting what you're sharing, because I think a lot of these buyers who come into the meetings, they just initially think, how much money are you going to save me? Yeah. It's like, it's not about that.
Or how many off markets are you going to find for me?
Yeah. It's interesting thinking, right? Like I feel like there needs to be like awareness and education around like, hey, it's not always about saving you money.
Yeah.
It's about like, because, if they buy the wrong property themselves, like
that's a costly mistake.
That's a mistake. That costs them money. And so there's value in just finding the right property.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It reminds me of, I met with some clients that were struggling to find the right property, and they've purchased over 30 properties themselves, and they were after something really specific so that they could create their dream beach house near the beach. And so had a chat to me. They basically wanted like 7 streets. They only wanted to be on the northern side of those streets, so that it was such a narrow window. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've got my work cut out for me here. And they knew it, like they had been struggling to find what they're looking for. And then, just happened to find something. Like I found an off market for them, which, we were sort of having trouble trying to get through. And then in the meantime, this property came up that was perfect. It was being sold by the owner, and they just missed it. It was actually on the market. It was on realestate.com, but they had completely missed it. So and it was actually, it ticked all their boxes. It was just, the right location, the right size block, north facing. So they weren't able to do that themselves. So, and they're experienced property investors. So I guess it's that thing when you're doing that and it's your full-time job and you're focused on it, and it's what you're, tapped into doing, then it's a valuable tool to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Like when you're fully committed to something, which you are as a buyer's agent, there's going to be a stronger probability that you're going to get a better outcome than that experienced investor, or even not experienced investor, just the person who's doing it part-time, or they're probably not even doing it part-time. They're probably just doing it a few hours a day, if that. And I think that someone like you is most likely going to get a better outcome.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
It's interesting. So what's happening now? So you're focused on owner-occupier purchasers, with for your clients, and also investors, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And are you only buying in Queensland?
I'm only buying on the Gold Coast and
Coast.
northern New South Wales. So
Northern New
just
South
really
Wales.
focusing on that, Gold Coast area, northern New South Wales.
Nice. So like you've niched in.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
And so, you wanted to kind of, it just seems like position yourself as like that kind of focused area expert, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's good I think you need to have that local area expertise to be able to really understand the intricacies of the different areas, the different suburbs, different streets within the suburbs. So that's sort of where we come in. I moved to the Gold Coast in the 1970s. We've seen it grow from what it is now, from where it was just beach shacks along the beach and not a whole heap of development. So it's exciting to see where the Gold Coast is going.
I love that.
From here, yeah.
Good on you. You obviously, you've been in the Gold Coast a long time, and you're I guess leveraging that expert knowledge, and you're now like injecting it into a sector that you're very passionate about. I wanted to ask you a final question before we wrap up. Because you're an investor before and you've got that strong background with buying and flipping, etc. I find like a lot of people become buyer's agents who are on let's call it a salary, working at a company, and they want to like grow their portfolio.
Yeah.
So they like we hear it a lot, and like their strategy is like, hey, additional income, increase serviceability, and then get more access to deals and just have more access to funds and just buy more. Like over the 2 years, like have you been able to buy more property for yourself?
We could have, but actually we haven't. We've actually started divesting. The opposite.
Okay.
We're pretty much in a pattern now where we're just going to hold what we've got now, and then the retirement strategy is we'll just sell off what we need to later on down the track when we retire. But we're not really in a buying. There's been some properties where I've thought, oh, gee, that's a good buy. So the temptation is definitely there. And for now, we're just happy to hold and purchase for our clients.
Awesome. Well, Emma, I've enjoyed the chat. Well done. It's great to see that, Craig's joined you and, you've got a really, strong, robust business and, you're working in a very local and focused area. So congrats and keen to see you keep crushing it.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.